What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming at you guys today with another retro deck profile. Listen, guys, I've found some Harpie deck profiles, and of course, I'm going to take a look at them. So this one is from Omar Predo from Illinois. This is the deck list he used for the Illinois Regionals in June. No, sorry, not June, January of 2014. So this was his top 8 deck list for Harpie. So just for those who are going to be asking, I looked online. There was a video, but the video has now been set to private. In addition to that, there are 38 cards in his deck list that was written down, but there isn't a full lineup of all the cards. Then I also had to put in an extra card or two to make it 40, and then I also had to swap a card out for the extra deck because I just remembered I don't own a black ship of corn. So if you do want to know, one of the extra deck cards in is Black Ship of Corn. I'll leave a link to the deck list itself so you guys can see it. But yes, this is Harpie. And as many of you know, 2013, 2014 was definitely the realm of Harpie. Because Harpie not only got a whole lot of support during that year with a tons of reprints, but we're also getting Chandler, we got Dancer, we were abusing the hell out of our new lineup of Harpie monsters, and the evolution of the Harpie deck was definitely at its prime. So you do see a lot, so I am seeing a lot of regional variants of Harpie, and everyone had a really decent enough build. There was a lot of builds that did structure on things, and even some of the videos that I've watched so far have definitely said, you know, there is a lot of budget to Harpie, but everybody's build of Harpie for that period of time definitely had its run. Because you had a lot of heavy trap base, you had a lot of very, setup and in stun. Harpie really had a massive overhaul for a lot of the things that it does. Because Harpie does like to stun and take out things, while also being able to, like it says in most previews, elegantly take the field and destroy anything that gets in their way. So, oh, I'm sorry, no, the phrase is dazzle their opponents with their elegant style and then wipe out their opponents. So, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the whole deck list. So, starting off with the Monsters are 3 copies of Harpie Channeler, then 3 copies of Harpie Queen. That's followed up by 3 copies of Harpie Lady 1. Then 2 copies of Harpie Dancer with 1 copy of Harpie's Pet Dragon. Then 1 copy of Zephyros the Elite and 2 copies of Summoner Monk. Alright, that is it for the monsters. Now we're going to go ahead and go on into the spells. Of course, this is Harpie, so it's running 3 copies of Hysteric Sign. Then it's running 3 copies of Harpie's Hunting Ground. Then 1 copy of Elegant Egotist, 1 copy of Book of Moon, 1 copy of Dark Hole, 2 copies of MST, 2 copies of Forbidden Lance, which I added to fit in for the slot. I probably should add it Max C. But according to his side deck, he sided in Max C. So then the last of the spells are 3 copies of Upstart Goblin. So that is it for all of the spells, and then for all of the traps. 3 copies of Hysteric Party. They're followed up by 2 copies of Fiendish Chain, 1 Bottomless Trap Hole, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 1 Torrential Tribute, and 1 Solemn Warning. So that is it for all of the main deck. Now we're going to go into the extra, where we're rocking 3 copies of Lightning Chidori. That is then followed up by 2 copies of the lovely Ice Beast Zero Fine, 1 copy of Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon, 1 copy of Queen Dragoon the Djinn, 1 copy of Diamond Dire Wolf, 1 copy of Maestro the Symphonic the Djinn, 1 copy of Gaga Cowboy, 1 copy of Stillstorm Roach, which is fitting in for our boy, what is it? Number 21, the Black Ship of Corn, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Mega Phantom Beast Draco Sack, 1 number 11 Big Eye, and 1 number 40, 1 number 74, the Master of Blades. So that is it for all of the cards in the deck. So let's go through everything. So now I don't know all of Omar's strategies or everything, but first off, congratulations for topping 8th with Harpies. I'm sure many of people were very excited to see your deck list, and I'm sure you're very happy to get your top at that regional event. So let's talk Harpies. And of course, Harpie Channeler, the biggest asset to the Harpie archetype. Being able to discard a Harpie card from your hand to then special summon a Harpie monster from your deck. If you control a dragon type monster, her level then becomes 7. In addition to that, for her, she is of course always treated as she's treated as Harpie Lady while she's on the field or in the graveyard. Harpie Chandler definitely is one of the biggest assets to the deck. I'll say Achilles heel. One of the biggest assets to this deck. I don't know, you can say she's the Achilles heel of the deck because she's the Harpie that brings every Harpie to the field, with the exception of Harpie Lady Sisters. But this is where Chandler shines because she's able to bring other Harpies to the board. This opened up rank 7 plays. This opened up our rank 4 spam. Harpie Chandler definitely kept things afloat. Now, moving on from Harpie Chandler is Harpie Queen, who basically was the first and the progenitor of the Harpie monsters for the modern era to have the ability to be treated as Harpie Lady while they're on the field or in the graveyard to get over the whole 3 of rules situation. Harpie Queen has a lot of utility to the deck as she's able to discard herself from the hand to the graveyard to search for the field spell Harpie's Hunting Ground. In addition to that, you also have to remember she's not only our 1900 beat stick, but she's also setting up the graveyard for other cards and their effects to pop off to where you can put more Harpies onto the field with cards like Hysteric Party. From there, we have Harpie Lady 1, who was the progenitor target of your Elegant Egotist. Give it 300 attack and defense boost. Give her 300 attack to all your win monsters. Also survives that old school classic beatdown setup that Harpies love to have, where they swarm the field and take out anybody who gets in their way. Then moving on from there is 2 copies of Harpie Dancer. While most people were trying to figure out the ratio for Harpie Dancer at that time, 2 doesn't seem too bad because of the fact that, yes, Divine Wind of the Mist Valley was unfortunately limited to 1. And, mainly what she did with Dancer was just to bounce back cards so you can pop back row, because you also have to remember, this was at the state of the game where people were trying to figure out, do they want to have a massive amount of back row? Do they not want to have a massive amount of back row? But Dexter's still playing a massive amount of back row because you still had stuff like Vanity's Emptiness to deal with. You still had Fiendish Chains. You had a lot of, preemptive stuff that Harpies love to play around with because they had Harpie's Hunting Ground to bounce a lot of that stuff. And I think also because a lot of people were moving to Harpie because Harpie had, honestly, one of the most stable back row removals out of all the archetypes in the game, because of the fact that they literally have a field spell they can search for, then place it on the field and then be able to pop back row, even their own back row. With that in told, we have, of course, the black sheep of the family, Harpie's Pet Dragon. This is a one of because of the fact that you don't want to have too many of these in your hand. You don't want this card to be something that you would have to seamlessly, throw away. You basically use this just to make your rank 7 plays. In modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, Harpie's Pet Dragon Fearsome Fire is just a better upgrade and a better selection of the deck itself. Other than that, don't run too many of these. Actually, you don't have to run this at all. You have a new monster that does the job for you. Blackwing Zephyros Steel Lead. That's right. When all else fails, they call out to the Blackwings. Zephyros is really just here just to bounce things back too, just like Harpie Dancer. Although it was a hard once per turn, and he could select any card that was on your side of the field to bounce back, Zephyros did come in clutch because you were able to not only survive a board full of level 4 monsters, but you were even able to, climb into different variations of level 4 monsters. Rank 4 monsters. Because his level matched up with everybody in the deck outside of Drug. Excuse me, I'm a bit gassy. Moving on from there is the last of the monsters from the main deck, and that is our boy Summoner Monk. I love Summoner Monk in OG Harpie because why? It was an easy way to discard Hysteric Sign so that you can activate its effect during the end phase. This is a monster that brought a lot of other monsters onto the board for what? Exceed plays, because that's one of the big things Harpies love to do once we got into the Exceed era, especially when we got when we got our newer monsters at that time, and it allowed us support that we had in conjunction where we were literally just, pop that back row or make this Exceed monster. We pick one. And Muck could definitely help with that. Another thing that I also say about Summoner Muck is just how easy and versatile of a monster this card is, especially for, the Exceed era. Because it was very much of a good utility card that, rank 3s had Tour Guide, rank 4s have Summoner Monk. That's the best way I can easily put it. And, and this is a flexible monster. He can get out tuners, he can get out non-tuners. It's just an array of things that Monk can help out with. So that is it for all of the monsters. Now we go ahead and we move on into the spells. So just give me 1 second. And for the spell cards, of course, we gotta talk about Hysteric Sign. So Hysteric Sign is probably one of the biggest assets in terms of spells to the Harpies, because this card allows you to add Elegant Egotists from your deck or your graveyard to your hand. In conjunction, during the end phase of the turn in which you will send from the hand or field to the grave, you're able to add up to 3 cards with Harpie in its name to your hand. Now, do note that you cannot use both effects during the same turn, because they are hard once per turn clause on the effects. However, the utility of things that you got out of Hysteric Sign were definitely beneficial to the Harpie archetype. We had a spell card that not only got Elegant Egotists from the deck or graveyard to our hand, so that way our swarming potential was even higher. But you also had a card that allowed you to search for Harpie cards and add them to your hand. While it didn't seem as many targets before, notice that the more the years improved, the more Harpie cards we were getting, the more targets we got. Especially once we started to get into Harpie's Featherstorm. Now we're going to Harpie's Hunting Ground, the field spell that definitely divides the Harpie archetype, being able to give all our winged beasts 200 additional attack and defense. So if you stack this on with cards like Harpie Lady 1, that's an additional 500 attack to all your winged beast monsters. But in addition to what it does, on the normal or special summon of a Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters, the conductor of the summon selects a spell or trap in the field and destroy it. Mind you, this is also the same time in which a lot of decks were still playing cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance. Decks were still playing around with Spellbook. So you had a lot of these high spell-oriented decks. You had Harpies who can play around with Anti-Spell and easily just, bow out with a lot of things, And if we needed to, we popped our own cards, so that way our opponent couldn't really do much then. And we had so much recovery and so much setup that really, honestly, it was just funny to see how many people really had to struggle against Harpie, outside of most of the decks that probably had a lot of high beat sticks and things to easily spam the board faster than we could. But hey, you know what? We never look our benefits in the mouth, do we? No. So, then from there we have, of course, Elegant Egotism, which is probably one of the things, too, that a lot of people say, why is there only one Elegant Egotist? Well, at the time, most people didn't want to really spam a lot of cards, because we still had to deal with stuff like Torrential Tribute, Bottomless Trap Hole, and stuff like that. But Ego's main target was Harpie Lady 1, because, well, no one's running Sisters, because at that time, there really wasn't a need to run Sisters. And with all the additional things that were going on, one Ego basically helped you sustain a lot of really good defensive monsters, even on turn 1. So while most of us weren't trying to rush into Harpie's Pet Dragon, Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon, you still had a lot of other cards like Maestro's the Symphonic Djinn. You had 101 Silent Honor Arc, who came out a little later at the time, because this was June of 2020, or June of 2014. So it's not telling exactly if this was before or after, or maybe Omar just didn't have the Honor Arc, but it's understandable if this came out right before Primal Origin, so he probably wasn't able to pick it up at that time. And I think Primal Origin wasn't even legal till I think a week after the regionals events that were going on at that time. So, damn, it sucked, but it would have been a definitely good card. Book of Moon, just to play counteractive things. And sorry if you guys can't see it because of the glare. But Book of Moon for counteractive things, putting cards face down so they can't exceed or synchro. Dark Hole, just to be a weight of removal. Double MST, in case your hunting ground has some things happening to it. MST is definitely something that's not only chainable, but easy to pop other cards as well. Forbidden Lance. Now, this is a card that I added in here because there was a 30 card deck list, and the video unfortunately wasn't able to be searched for, so but I added the Forbidden Lance just because it plays a good help into Harpie to protect a lot of cards from card effects like Fiendish Chains and Bottomless Trap Holes and stuff like that. You could easily switch into Maxi, but like I said, the Maxis were already in the side deck, so that was something that was probably cited in because most decks at that time weren't trying to spam summon outside of maybe Dragon Ruler, Heretic Ruler, and stuff like that. So then from there are, well, everyone's favorite triple Upside Goblin, because no deck is complete without being a 37 card deck and having Upside Goblin just to fill in the last bit of slots. Alright, that is it for the spells, and now we go ahead and we move on into trap cards. And we're following those up with Triple Hysteric Party, which is, of course, one of the best utilities for Harpie, to summon as many Harpie monsters from the grave to the field, and be able to not only swarm the field, but go off on finishing games. Devil, at that point in time, 3-ofs were a must, because if you did have the setup in the graveyard, you wanted to see Party as soon as possible. Even to this day, we still do not have a card that actually searches for Hysteric Party. Fiendish Chain to lock down monster effects outside of effect failure. Bottomless Trap Hole to get rid of monsters, as well as compulsory evacuation device and torrential tribute. So you had a lot of monster removal on some flexible things and easy some chainable things as well. Then you had Solemn Warning just to follow up in the rear. Now we go on into this lovely extra deck. And for the extra deck, his choices were triple copies of Lightning Chidori. If you combine this with cards like Maestroke and Book of Moon, you're basically able to send monsters away that were face down, but also being able to, well, clear out some face-up monsters by detaching material. This is easily one of Harpie's most utilized extra deck monsters with such an easy summon requirement. Attached to that, of course, is the lovely Ice Beast Zero Fine. And what a lovely addition to Harpie she was. Being able to negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent controlled, and then gaining 300 attack for every face-up card on the board overall, made not only Zero Fine a great way to negate things, but also just a massive beat stick. Then we have, of course, the reinvention of the Faithful Servant, Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon, who easily made if you play off your Hysteric Parties right and get at least 3 win level 4 monsters, which is not hard. And you can easily just swerve in for direct damage, while also not only protecting your Harpies from being targeted by battle card effect, but just basically making sure that your opponent really cannot touch your Harpie cards with its effect. Queen Dragoon the Djinn, she's able to pick up your Harpie's Pet Dragon in the graveyard, or even so, change your Channeler's level to 7, so that even other Channeler copies can become level 7 monsters. There's a lot of rank 7 monsters, in the deck. In that time frame. And with Queen Dragoon the Djinn being able to protect a lot of dragon stuff as well, Queen Dragoon the Djinn is a definite must-have for the archetype. Pop things as it goes, thanks to Diamond Dire Wolf. Book of Moon and just a decent wall to start off with, thanks to Maestroke. The 800 burn from our boy Gaga Cowboy. Steel Swarm Roach is filling in for what is that monster's name? Black Ship of Corn, because there were still a lot of monsters that you had a lot of protection, but the one you didn't have protection for was the effects of being sent to the grave. So Black Ship of Corn was filling in for that. Now I do remember seeing some other lists playing Steel Storm Roach because of the fact that it was an easy way to counteract a lot of the level 5 or higher decks as well. And even funny enough, Steel Storm Roach is a good option with Ophion in them, because Evil Sworn also uses this monster to counteract a lot of the higher level decks at that time. We have a copy of Abyss Dweller to help us deal with the Grave, Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sack, and Big Eye for being 2 big staples for decks that were running level 7s and could easily make rank 7 monsters. Big Eye took monsters, Draco Sack popped cards, and even played a good defensive wall. And to play out against things that targeted was the Master of Blades. Talk about a monster that was so cheap and so affordable that almost every deck that had rank 7 literally had to put this card in there because of all of its abilities being so detrimental to a counteract to things like Draco Sack and Big Eye. So, alright, with that said and done, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for this retro deck profile. Shoutouts to Omar for his top 8 at the event in Illinois. Much appreciated. Sorry, I don't know what happened to the original video, but hey, HPJ made sure to make a video just in case people wanted to see it. So I will leave a link to the full list for you guys in the comment section below, or even in the description box. And let me know what was your favorite set up for Harpies during 2014. With that said and done, thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel as it helps out tremendously. Hit the notification bell to be informed when I upload more content to the channel. My social media links are in the description box below, and you guys can check out more things via the playlist. Thanks everyone for watching. HPJ signing out. Take care.